I mean, imagine, you're a worker in 1916 and you're making a certain wage, and then, basically 6 years later, everything costs twice as much, and your wages haven't kept up with it, which is kind of what's going on now, right? And so the Fed is this body that controls the issuance of the money supply, and as Milton Friedman said, money is always a monetary phenomenon. So a society, produces goods and services. Doctors provide a service, people make widgets, those are goods. And the dollars that we have are they are claims against the goods and services, and the price we pay for them balances the claims against what's provided. If you suddenly decide you're going to double the amount of dollars in existence, which is what happened in World War II, the price of everything doubles, because the same number of people, you didn't double the number of goods and services, you just double the number of dollars, and so the price goes up. And this has been the continual and recurring pattern, Nico, that basically the federal government has caused average American people to suffer, because anytime the banks get in trouble, and the Fed was created to backstop the banks, it was a cartel of the banks, really. Anytime the banks got in trouble, the Fed prints the money to bail them out. And it looks like, that's what they should do and what they must do, although I talk about the alternatives. And in fact, what it does is it increases the cost of gasoline, it increases the cost of food. So more or less, we all pay for the Fed's mistakes and for the bank's mistakes. And it's terribly inefficient, and it's terribly unfair, because the bankers and the wealthy people, there are wealthy people in this country, and who are smart, and they actually know how to make inflation work for them. And we call them quintillionaires, and that's whole other thing we could define. But the bottom line is, smart people know how to borrow money cheap and buy assets that pay more. And so with inflation, they actually get richer. Whereas people who are working for a fixed wage, their wages don't go up as fast, and they actually get poorer. And it's very, very unfair. And America was built on the concept and the promise of fairness. And it's being violated. And it's been violated for a long time. And I think what we're coming to a head is, it's now getting to be so bad and so obvious that I think the book is timely. That you know what I mean? That I think a lot of people are going to read it and go, oh my God, you're right. We got to fix this.
Yes.
And that's the goal.
And we're on the verge of what I would call the Great Awakening. I think we're on the verge of people really waking up. And I think, some signs of that was this recent election with Trump,
right?
What just happened.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, exactly. The complete rebuttal of the legacy media. And then now we're finding out that it was USAID that was funding that whole apparatus.
It's unbelievable. We've been gaslit and lied to consistently. And the book talks about what a beautiful thing the internet is, because the internet is what has allowed you and me to speak like this and communicate with thousands and millions of people around the world. It's what's allowed Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan to become more important than CNN. And people, the scales are falling away from their eyes, and they're coming to realize, hey, you know what? I've been lied to and I've been screwed. And the good news is, we outnumber, the people who control this system, the elites in the media, the elites in the government, all the people who run the system the way they run it, that takes advantage of the average man. We outnumber them vastly. Where they've had the advantage of having all the information and control of all these systems. But guess what? We're taking that advantage away.
100%. The systems are falling apart. I call it the great disintermediation.
Exactly.
And the internet really allowed mass scale peer-to-peer communication.
We've been saved by technology, as Jeff Booth says. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. My view is, it'll happen without Larry or without Nico, but I've got a limited window here, at age 67. I want it to happen faster, right? I want to see it happen. Therefore, I wrote the book.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, let's accelerate this, right?
We all contribute, and what I call this narrative trench warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet.
That's exactly right.
I want to ask you something, Larry, because this goes down a deeper rabbit hole.
Sure.
The Federal Reserve was established in 1913.
Yes.
The income tax was also established in 1913.
Right.
Is that a coincidence?
I don't think so. I mean, and the federal government exists to protect itself. And there's some great charts, and it's fabulous to see Trump and Besant saying 1870 to 1913 was a really prosperous period. And they're right, because we were on a sound money standard, the soundest money at that time, which was gold. And if you go back and you look at the revenues, this country didn't have an income tax pre-1930. This wasn't a bad country from 1789 to 1913. It was a pretty good country. Where did all the revenue come for the federal government? From tariffs. So, people say, hey, Trump is tariff man. Well, it might actually make a lot of sense.
Let me ask you something, Larry, and you were alluding to this earlier. Did the establishment of the Federal Reserve in the United States enable World War I and World War II?
I think so. I think so. I mean, look, World War II was a different case, a little more existential, some bad stuff going on. But yes, I think that these printing money has been used, and the book shows this, printing money has been used to pay for wars since the War of 1812. I mean, the suspended specie redemption in 1812 to pay for that war. The bottom line is war is incredibly expensive. Nobody wants to pay for it. So what are you going to do if you're a government? You're going to come to your citizens and say, hey, we're going to tax you at 100% to pay for this war? Citizens are going to go, yeah, like hell you are. We're going to revolt. So they know they can't do that. But if they have a sneaky mechanism to tax you indirectly, which is basically what inflation is, well, then they can pay for the war, right? And that's what they've done. And that, in my view, that's actually one of the most positive things. People ask me, what do you think the best thing about Bitcoin is? I'd say the best thing about Bitcoin is that it might end wars. I mean, and that's really, that would be wonderful, right?
The reason I asked you that question is it's such a powerful statement. And I believe it was Ron Paul who originally said, it's not a coincidence that the century of course it is. It's not a coincidence that the century of central banking is the bloodiest century in human history.
It's in the book. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. What is your take on, because I think from a historical context, right? Initially you had Trump going in 2016.
Right.
And he was the outsider candidate.
Correct.
And then they did everything in their power to stop this guy.
Absolutely.
The lawfare, the assassination, that election was quite interesting in 2020, to put it nicely.
Yes.
Where are we in a historical perspective? Because I know that you are a big fan in the fourth turning theory.
Yes.
So where are we?
Well, I think we're deep into it now. I mean, if the fourth turning theory, for those who don't know, is the theory that every 80 years you have a crisis that gets resolved with a change of the rules. The last one before this was the Depression, World War II. Before that, it was 1865, the Civil War. Before that, it was 1776. Those were all fourth turnings. We're in another one. It's 80 plus years from World War II right now. And I think what's going to get resolved here is what Robert Breedlove says, which is we're going to determine what money is. If you look at these fourth turnings, they tend to last between 10 and 30 years. And if you look at this one, I marked the start of this one as 2008. So we're more than 10 years into it. We're coming up on, at 2028, we'll be 20 years into it. So we're going to resolve this money issue, in my opinion, in the next 10 or 15 years, maybe sooner.
And where do you think Trump fits in all this?
Oh, he's a godsend in terms of being a disruptor, right? I mean, he's had the courage. I mean, thank God he wasn't killed. I mean, it was almost divine that the bullet didn't hit his head. He turned his head at the right time. And he's a disruptor of the system. And honestly, he's not perfect, but he's learning and growing. I mean, I sure like Trump 2.0 more than I like Trump 1.0. He's getting more intelligent people around him. I mean, some of the people on his team I love. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I love RFK Jr. He threw out Pompeo, who was a neocon. I think Trump 1.0, he didn't really fully understand what he was up against. And, although he might have won the 2020 election, in a certain sense, it's poetic that he didn't. The other side did. They totally misplayed their hand and made things much, much worse. And as a result, he was able to regroup his forces and get a better team around him. And I'm extremely hopeful for what he can do here. Now, having said that, nobody's perfect, right? I mean, when I saw, and I just have to say this, because for the record, when I saw Melania coin and Trump coin, I was like, oh man, come on, dude. You're not selling steak knives with the Trump name on them, are you?
The timing of it could have been better. 3 days before the inauguration. But I think
look, I forgive him that, but it just wasn't great in my view.
No, it definitely wasn't. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners are getting their first taste in politics.
Yeah.
Which is politics is the definition of the organization of power.
And
there's a lot of concessions.
And there's compromise. I mean, look, we've dragged along all these crypto guys, right? I mean, we've got some crypto guys hanging out in the strategic reserve. It should be a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but the crypto guys want a seat at the table. And I'm not wild about that, but hey, they provided a lot of votes and a lot of support, and they helped get him elected. And so, okay, if they're going to get a seat at the table, fine. I mean, I think most of the other crypto is going to fail and go away, so it doesn't really matter. What I think is most important here is that Bitcoin is in the game. They understand what it is. We got the Loomis bill that might have a chance of passing. They're clearly going to hang on to the 200,000 coins they have, and hopefully they're going to stack more.
Absolutely. And one of the things also that stuck out to me through this whole very historical occurrence is that if they just, and you were saying it earlier, if they just let Trump take a second term, right? I don't think that would have created this mobilization of our industry to throw our hat in the ring into politics.
That may be true.
Bitcoiners didn't want to get into this. We were forced into this because of Operation Choke Point 2.0 and all the hostility because of the Biden administration. I think Trump and the Republican Party saw that as an opportunity to get votes, and they jumped on it.
And it was great. It worked. Look, we'll ride that. It's good. It works. Yeah.
But it's almost as if it was divine, the whole thing.
It really is.
You're looking at this, and then the way he moved his head, like you said, like, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I'm a little spiritual, and I got to tell you, when I thought about writing this book, I feel like I got tapped on the shoulder. It was kind of like, hey, you know what? You should write this. Look, this is probably going to be my 15 minutes of fame, right? Because I think this book might go viral, and if it does, I'm going to thank my lucky stars, and more importantly, thank what it'll do, what I think it could do for the country. And I was just very well positioned. I mean, I've been suffering with the sound money thing for a long damn time. I think you and I have had this conversation before where, being a gold bug was no fun for the last 30 years. Yeah. And then all you guys came along and it's like, holy shit, the reinforcements are here. I'm fired up.
This movement is alive and well.
It's alive and well. I mean, when I had 30-year-olds quoting von Mises to me and they'd read the Bitcoin Standard, I was like, all right, this is good. I mean, we might actually end up winning here, right? I got Marty telling me we're going to win, and I'm like,
oh, we're going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna win.
I mean, it's obvious. Yeah. We are going to win, right?
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good stuff.
What do you think about the strategic Bitcoin reserve and the implications of it?
It's huge. I mean, it's a nation state because it could lead to nation state FOMO. I mean, as an example, I was at MENA. I saw Eric speak. I saw Manafort speak, and I heard from the Bitcoin Policy Institute guys that basically other states are watching what we're doing. That the Saudis, Oman, and UAE are all stacking, and they were literally saying, "Are you guys okay with us announcing this?" And the response from the Trump administration is, "Sure, after we do." We just want to go first. And so if the U.S. is stacking coins, that becomes a strategic imperative for all of the countries to consider. I mean, you now know that China has to think about it. For sure. Russia has to think about it. China's pretty averse to it. I think Russia's smart enough. I think Putin gets it. I think they're probably stacking coins. It is the most, it's what Saylor says, it's the most pristine form of capital in the world. And it's destined to become the base layer of money, in my opinion, because of its technical superiority. And as a result of that, it's a complete first mover game. I mean, you get it at the price you deserve. And so the sooner you figure it out and get it, the better off you are. And Max is better off than I am because he figured it out at $1. Trace is better off than he is because Trace figured it out at 50 cents. Like, take a guy like Larry Fink, right? I mean, a fiat guy, but smart enough to study it and realize, you know what? I either got to get on board this and figure out a way to make money doing it, sponsoring an ETF, or I'm going to end up like the Vanguard guy and lose my job. Yep. And so, and that's kind of how it is for everybody. A lot of people I deal with now kind of come back and they say, well, yeah, that's great, Larry, but you bought it a lot cheaper. And how can I pay this amount of money, 100,000 a coin, for something you bought for 400 or 10,000? I bought a lot at 50. But my response is, here's the paradigm. It's a critical state problem. The monetary system is the Titanic, and I got a lifeboat. I'm on the I paid 400, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 for my lifeboat seats. Here it is to you. You got to pay 100,000. You want a seat or not? And if I'm right, and if the system does fail, which I think it might, you're going to be damn glad you bought a seat, even if you have to pay 100,000 for it.
Of course. I mean, it's I remember Jack Mahler's the way that he said it. It's like basically saying the year is 2025 and you refuse to use the internet. Right. It's
right. Or Manhattan real estate. As Saylor uses. And
the whole concept of, I'm not going to buy because this person bought earlier than me. That's more so, that's an ego test more than anything.
Correct. Right? Correct. Well, and also, as I say, the critical state thing is important because once, there's some good charts in here that show adoption curves, and cell phones, all kinds of things. So this is a new technology. It's being adopted. We're entering the steep part of the curve. And so do you want to be an early adopter or do you want to wait? Because the difference is going to cost you a lot in terms of price. It's a critical state issue because another analogy I like to use is the avalanche analogy. At some point, fiat currency is going to fail, in my belief, in my opinion. So which snowflake is going to cause the avalanche to break loose and have it fail? I don't know. But there's no do-over. You know what I mean? You don't get to say, oh, I'm sorry. I kind of wish I wish I'd gotten out of the way before that avalanche, broke loose and came down and smothered me.
What does that look like, Larry? Like when fiat fails? Because I feel like that is ugly.
It is ugly. It is ugly.
I'm assuming you've heard of the book Mandibles.
It's in the book.
Right? There we go.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, I hope so. It looks a lot of different ways, Nico, and it doesn't.
And what makes you so confident it's going to happen?
Well, I'm confident it's going to happen because of the math and because of the this is a superior technology and because more and more humans are adopting it, and people always gravitate towards the best solution. And we've now got 15 years of evidence that it's the best, 16 years of evidence that it's the best solution. But in terms of the how it happens, it doesn't have to be mandibles. I don't think it will be. It'll take a bit longer. It can be more gradual, which is in a funny way, we want it to go up faster, but in a funny way, it's a good thing. If we get more people on board, give more people time to adapt. The second thing is, as I talk about in the book, this doesn't have to be a brutal, total collapse. We can do a currency reset, okay? This has been done before. Roosevelt did it in 33. I mean, we can basically transition back to a sound money currency. The problem with America today is that the money is unsound and the money is broken, title of Ledn's book. And therefore, the solution is to just go back to a sound money system. And there have been lots and lots of societies throughout the world that have had broken money. And what happens, what you see when you study them and read about them, is when they go back to sound money, they get better. Everything gets fixed, especially if you don't have a major war. If we can avoid having a major war, I mean, all that's broken here is the money. And so, now don't get me wrong. When what I'm describing occurs, there will be winners and losers. The people who don't have sound money will lose on a relative basis. The people who have a lot of unsound money stored in bonds, they're going to get creamed. They're just going to, but that's unavoidable. I mean, that's just the way that, because the bonds and the commitments that have been made, they're not money good. They're not, the values are fake. I mean, just like in real estate right now, I think some of these very high-end real estate prices, they're just fake. Yeah. I mean, people are hiding in real estate thinking that'll protect them from inflation. But, do you really need a $20 million house or a $10 million house or a $5 million house?
It's ridiculous.
It's shelter.
It's ridiculous.
It's shelter.
And it's really stolen my generaration ability to buy
that's
home.
Right.
It's been
that's
just
exactly
complete, flat-out theft.
Yes.
And the frustration. I have friends who are extremely successful, and they're renting.
Right. My kids are all in their 20s, and they're like, Dad, how am I ever going to buy a house?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's absurd. And then that leads me to the premise of your book, which is money printing breaks everything.
Yes.
How does it?
Well, it creates inflation, and inflation creates winners and losers, and it makes wealth inequality really large. One of the early charts in the book shows how just out of balance the wealth inequality has gotten. And again, when I wrote the book, I thought to myself, I got to write this because I remember America in the 60s, 70s, and 80s when I was growing up. And we had problems. I mean, the Vietnam War was a big one, but it was a better America. There was a vibrant middle class. I mean, one guy could work, his wife could be a housewife. He could have a car, they could take vacations. I mean, it was just better. And now, everybody is just scrambling for every last dollar, and people can't retire because they don't know if their savings are how long their savings will last because they're going to be debased, I mean, think of all the people who worked their entire life up until 2020, saved up all their money, and then in 2 years, 40% of the money supply got printed. We just took away 40% of their labor that they'd saved for their whole life. It's criminal. I mean, you think of all the people who worked for companies who had pensions, and now the pensions got taken over by PE firms. And then the PE firms, paid out big dividends, or the companies got taken over by PE firms. I talk about this in the book. PE firms paid out big dividends, and the people's pensions got cut. I mean, America has become an enormous criminal money grab by the people who are at the top, the rich, and the laws are written to favor them and protect them. And so when anything goes wrong, they get bailed out. Silicon Valley Bank, I mean, Bill Ackman cries like a baby, that the banking system will fail because he probably had deposits at Silicon Valley Bank. And so we bail it out, which is in direct contravention of the Dodd-Frank law. And that happens over and over and over again. And I document the cases in the book. I mean, it's just unfair. I mean, we used to have usury laws. When I was young, my parents would get credit cards. The maximum interest rate on a credit card was 10 or 20%. The average interest rate on a credit card is 25%. I mean, the mob would blush. So if you're rich, you can borrow money at the Fed funds rate or sometimes below, but close to the Fed funds rate. If you're average, if you're a normal American, you got to pay 25% to borrow money from the credit cards. I mean, come on. No, it's just, come on. I mean, it's just right.
No, I mean, of course. I mean, I feel my generation feels it.
Right?
We feel it.
We all feel it.
My question though is why don't people see the problem? Because you see a lot of politicians, and I don't want to name which side, and I think it's obvious, but a lot of politicians are saying it's the corporations.
Greedy corporations.
They're price gouging. Yeah. They're taking advantage of the situation, this and this and that. Why isn't the average Joe aware of this? And I know writing this book and what we do every single day on Bitcoin X.
I think they kind of are. I mean, I think they're getting closer, and they're more average Joes that are becoming like us. So, the Overton window is moving, and it's shifting, and there are more average Joes in our camp, but it's sophisticated, right? I mean, and a lot of people, they think, well, gee, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's my fault. This is why you have all these deaths of despair, why you have drug overdoses and alcoholism and suicides. I mean, because the game is unfair. People know it's unfair, and they give up. You're poor and you're working 3 jobs just to kind of keep your head above water and, keep food on the table and, right? Do you have time to read books like this? Or to go, and even if you read it, it's the problem. Do you really have time to write your congressman or go lobby the Fed? No. I mean, you're just trying to stay alive, right? Yeah. But, you vote, and, we get more politicians that understand this is the issue. We get a Bitcoiner politician running for president. I mean, we kind of had one. I mean, Trump got pretty close to being full Bitcoiner, a libertarian. But we get it so that there's a lot more of that fighting against the people who want to see it the other way. And guess what? We're gonna gravitate and move towards a sound money standard, and hopefully do it in a controlled and intelligent way so that people don't suffer, so that we don't have a mandibles kind of outcome.
Yeah, and I love how you brought up the Overton window. The Overton window has shifted in the last 6 months more than it has in the last decade.
Right. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, pre-January and the ETFs, I had everybody and the brother telling me, oh yeah, that's a great dream, Larry, and I understand it. And you may be right about all this, but the government's never going to allow that. Well, then they allowed the ETF. I was blown away. I didn't think the ETF was going to get through.
Yeah.
Right?
But Larry Fink has a lot of influence.
Well, that's the point, right? Yeah. See, some people with money got involved, and I mean, this is what's going on in the gold market right now. I mean, I think the smart people are buying gold now. They know, look, anybody with a brain that analyzes the macroeconomics of the federal government and realizes what a debt doom loop we're in must come to the conclusion that you have to have sound money or real assets, or you're going to get hurt. I mean, Ray Dalio, one of the great investors of our time, runs Bridgewater. He understands it. He's been talking about gold for years, and he's finally becoming a Bitcoiner. He's kind of coming to get it. And everybody will come to get it eventually because it's obvious.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.